Hello, Cancer. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Cancer is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Cancer, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. Seven of Cups. This is kind of a queasy feeling, right? I feel like you're somebody who can see through illusions, right? You can see through people's bovine excrement. And I think that you're aware that there is some kind of toxic energy in your life right now. Okay? There's something that needs to be purged, something that needs to be cleansed. There's something in your gut that's telling you things can't stay the way they are right now. Things can't continue to exist in this sort of state, okay? And I think that it probably has something to do with a relationship with another person, okay? I think you're somebody that you don't like there to be bad blood anywhere. You know, if there's something that needs to be said, you're kind of like, you want to get it out in the open. You want things to be kind of laid out on the table. Yeah, you don't want things to be covered up. Very often, the Seven of Swords masquerades as something that is beautiful, lovely, fine, perfect. Reveals, though, a kind of hidden toxicity under the surface, okay? So let's put this into some context. Let's see where this is and how we can have this cleansing, this purging, a catharsis, a closure, whatever we might need to sort of purify this water. Okay? We're going to use our Dove and Serpent spread. We have a Nine of Wands. We have an Emperor energy. We have an Empress energy. Five of Cups. Yeah, sure. And, we have a Princess of Swords. On the path of the Serpent, a Two of Pentacles. A Four, very good. Four of Wands. We have a Knight of Wands, more Aries energy. It's very possible this is an Aries person that we're talking about. But then we have your Knight of Cups, your Cancer superpower card. So this is also a very good sign. What I think is happening here is that there is a kind of conversation that you need to have that's going to unblock a lot of this long-standing emotional energy, this kind of this swampy energy. It's kind of like an emotional blockage, okay? This could be with a parent, okay? It could be a partner, could be a close friend. I kind of feel that there's some family vibes here. It may even be it could be a romantic partnership here between you and somebody else. It has to do with something related to your parents, okay? I think that, tears are going to flow, right? When the truth finally comes to the surface, there's going to be a movement of the emotional waters, but this is a good thing. See, this is a flow of release and not tears of defeat or sorrow. So it really is this stagnant emotional energy is starting to move and is starting to filter and starting to purify. Okay, you want the water to flow. You don't want it to be all stopped up where it kind of stagnates and gets mosquitoes and all that stuff. You want the water to be flowing. And I think that really there's a lot of love that's going to grow from this moment. Love that's going to feel softer, kinder, more supportive than what it has been. Okay. I think this emotional breakthrough is kind of like going to be a foundation for you, a new cycle of intimacy or trust or kindness or kind of mutual love and affection. See, this is your superpower card. This is also the card of the giving and receiving of love and affection. Okay, so something that really is breaking down this emotional wall. I think it's really going to clarify a lot for you. It's really going to lead to kind of new things. The Four of Wands here in the environment is part of that closure. Okay, you're having that conversation, and I think it's really gonna lead to some really good things. It's kind of like starting a new relationship with this person. Yeah. Not continuing the way it was, but kind of like clearing the air, clearing the water, sort of filtering the water, purifying the water, and starting over on a kind of higher level. Okay, so it feels like a kind of a new level of safety and support and intimacy, or, whatever this kind of love and affection is, yeah? Let's select our mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it down right over here with Dwight K. Schrute right on top. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. But we're going to wait till the end to look at that card. It will tie everything together, and it will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any moment during this message you feel like you might know what that card might be, put your prediction in the comment section down below. Okay? Now, you might need to save this reading for a little bit later. You might need to save this for when you're kind of ready to take this step and you're ready to hear it. Okay? You may need to share this reading with someone else that needs to hear it. Okay? But I want you to claim it as your own. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to leave a comment for me. Okay? And, well, big shout out to everybody that sticks around, even for those difficult or challenging readings. Yeah. Because tarot shouldn't be all sugar and sunshine and roses and unicorns, But let's look around the room, because I feel like this does lead to sunshine and unicorns and roses and all that good stuff. But we gotta sort of trudge through the swamp first. So as far as major arcana go, we've got the two. Okay, we've got the Empress and the Emperor. Okay, and this is, relationship dynamics, whether this is mother and father, whether this is you and a romantic partner, whether this is kind of like, two sides of you, where one is kind of giving, the other one is taking. This is that kind of a dynamic that, to me, feels it needs some resolution. We have fire, water. We got a little bit of air and a little bit of earth. Okay? Not a lot of either one of air and earth, right? But I think that means that the air and the earth are the important things, because this is a conversation that needs to be had, and this is a change in behavior that needs to be sort of, demonstrated. Okay? So the result of all of this energy, the result of your conversation, basically, and the purging of the emotions and the closure and the getting things out in the open, should lead to a change in the actual reality, the way that you interact with this person. Okay? The behaviors, not just of you, but of them as well. Okay? Should be the result of this emotional purging, this catharsis that you're going through. Okay? Clearing out an emotional blockage, the first thing it's going to require of you is strength. That's our Nine of Wands here. Okay? And I think that the sort of courage and the strength, and really the will and the desire to bounce back from this, is crucial. There has to be a will, and kind of like, where there's a will, there's a way, right? And the Nine of Wands is that will. It is that commitment. It is that kind of feeling that we're going to get through this no matter kind of what it is. So there's an unbreakable bond here between you and this person. But with the Seven of Cups, it feels like you probably haven't really connected in a long time. That there's been some kind of an emotional wall that's been there. There's been some kind of swampy energy between the two of you. I don't know exactly what it is about. If it's you and a sibling, it might have something to do with your parents and kind of some kind of family dynamics. Okay, that's kind of what I'm getting from this. But the Nine of Wands, the desire is there. The bond and the connection is there, but it's muddied by this emotional water. So this is maybe something that you have this issue about how you dealt with your parents' energy, or something about the past when the two of you were growing up. Maybe this is a situation involving one of your parents, something along those lines. Okay, but I like the Nine of Wands. I'm glad this is one of our first cards here, because it does show that sort of the resolution, the resolve. You know, the backbone here, that there is a commitment. There's a commitment to doing this, and I think that you know, this is a strong bond, even if it's been kind of on ice for a while, or it's kind of been in the swamp for a while. That connection, that commitment's still there. If this is between you and your spouse, that connection, that bond isn't going anywhere. It's not broken. Okay, it's just muddied up by this emotional thing. Down beneath the surface, you know, this is a very rigid energy, right? The Emperor, and it's kind of, you know, the Emperor and the Five of Cups, they don't really go well together, do they? It's fire and water, and sometimes it's saying that you've been preventing yourself from having this emotional release by kind of having that conversation, knowing that the tears are going to flow. Kind of feeling like once you start talking, you're just going to start crying. You ever have that feeling like you don't want to talk about something because you know as soon as you do, the tears are going to start coming. Here come the waterworks, you know. The Emperor is trying to remain very serious and very much in control, and very much, I don't feel those feelings and I'm not going to talk about it. And this is a very disciplined energy, okay? And it feels like you want to be in control of the situation, because you don't want to be overwhelmed by the emotions, right? So you try to stay in control of yourself and sort of like block out the feelings, okay? The Emperor kind of feels like there's no room for emotions. There's no room for like breaking down and crying, because I'm running an empire here. And so it may be even that you immerse yourself in work or school or other responsibilities, other disciplines, so that you don't have to deal with how you feel. But I feel right now it's kind of like things are coming out in the open. We need that. It's time. It's time for that closure and that release. It's time to just have the conversation, let the tears happen, and you'll be better off for it afterwards. Okay? And so this, to me, feels like this is how you've been dealing with your emotions, by kind of like keeping them contained, keeping them in a little box, on a shelf, in the closet, locked up, not touching them, and doing other things, and having that kind of discipline and self-control. But see, eventually those emotions are going to find their way out, and they're going to start, you know, interrupting your life in ways that you don't want them to. So I feel like it's kind of time that you unlock that box and you explore those feelings, and you have that conversation. Okay. In the background, of course, we have the Empress, and there may be a simple kind of dynamic here between you and this other person. And it may be that you feel as if you've always been the one to give, or to sacrifice, or to make sacrifices. That you've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into something and never got anything in return. There's some kind of an inequality. Okay, there's some like imbalance of power or responsibility here. Okay, that you've done a lot, you've done more than anybody, but you've received the least. Okay, so I feel like there's something that's really bothering you, and you don't know how to really say it. Maybe you don't know how to say it without just getting mad or getting upset, you know. Maybe that's okay. Maybe this is something that needs to be kind of hashed out. It needs to be addressed so that maybe you can establish that reciprocity. Very often, the Empress sacrifices, feeds something of its own energy to the point where it is depleted and diminished. Okay? Because it doesn't often have regard for them, for itself. It just gives and gives and gives, feeding something of its own vitality until there's not enough left for the Empress. Okay? And so I wonder if this has been your dynamic, even if it's with a spouse, with a friend, family member, like your parents. It could be something at work, I guess, but to me it feels like this is either a spouse, a sibling, or one of your parents. And that feeling that you have given and given and given and not taken anything back for yourself, and it's time for that to stop. It's time for that to be addressed, because I think the longer you stay silent about it, the more resentful you get. Okay. So I think it's important that you look and you acknowledge that aspect of things. Okay. Now, I hope you'll share this video with someone who might need a reminder or might need to see some of this energy too. I don't know who the Aries person is in your life, but there's a strong Aries connection. It may be that you're being suggested to watch the Aries reading. Okay, but I want you to leave a comment and let me know if there is an Aries person here for you. Okay, hit that like button. Tell me that you're ready for this, because I think it's becoming such a prominent energy that you know it can't persist. Okay, up above the surface, of course, is the Five of Cups. This is disappointment. And what is the Empress but kind of disappointed, unfulfilled, giving, 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 got nothing back. And that's disappointment. Something that should have been there for you wasn't there. Maybe somebody didn't support you the way you supported them. Maybe you took care of somebody, paid all the bills, but then when you were in need, they weren't there. There's that disappointment. Okay, and I think the longer it remains unspoken, the more it just becomes kind of toxic resentment, and it's going to start eating you up from the inside. Okay? I think that you've kind of, you know yourself, and once you start talking about it, I feel like the tears are going to flow. I feel like these tears coming up to the surface, right? Up from down below, up to the surface here. These are tears of release. These are good tears, right? These are tears that are going to make you feel better once you get them out. But to do that, we have to have this conversation. And the Princess of Swords doesn't always have the words, but is going to try. And try and maybe sometimes fail, right? But that's okay. You're not going to have the most eloquent way, and you can't be too self-conscious here. You can't be worried like, well, what if you get emotional and then you start like stuttering and tripping over your words and blubbering like a fool? That's okay. Because this isn't really about what you're saying. It's not about information that needs to be passed back and forth. I mean, it is in a way, but really it's about you releasing this pent-up emotional energy, breaking down this wall. I feel like it's been here for a while. And it's about you having that purging of that emotional energy. I think something is going to grow from this process, but this is what needs to take place right now. Okay? Tell me you're ready. Type "I'm ready" in the comments if you're ready for this. Okay? We're going to talk about the path of the serpent. I want you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Join our community here. Everybody here is very supportive. Okay? Even if this isn't exactly your situation, there's some emotional wall that you've been avoiding that is now, it's unavoidable. It's time to purge that energy. There's that emotional blockage. The Two of Pentacles is your general energy. It's saying you're ready for change. You're ready for the dynamic to change between you and this other person. You're ready for there to be equality or mutual support, love and affection, two-way street, reciprocity. You're ready for something to change, and you're willing to change. Okay? And I think maybe for a long time, the Emperor is that part of you that says, that I don't need to change anything. I haven't done anything wrong. I shouldn't have to change. They should change. Right? I think this is just simply saying, look, we're both going to have to behave differently. And maybe on your end, you got to behave differently by when something bothers you, you talk about it. You don't bottle it up and wait for, a year when it's just very intense and very toxic. It takes a long time to filter that emotional energy when it's been accumulating for a year, It's kind of like you deal with it as it comes. So there are ways that you can change your behavior too. Okay. Really big shout out to everybody that supports this channel with the super thanks. I really do appreciate that. Okay. I see that, I recognize that, and I appreciate you. Okay. Sometimes I think sometimes the behavior is really just very simple. It's kind of just like, maybe that's all you want is recognition and appreciation. Maybe like when we're saying that something should be there, but it's not, maybe that's just a simple thank you. Maybe it's just a simple acknowledgement that something took place. Okay, well, this could be at work, I guess. Feels like it's more intimate than work, than like a job or something. This is maybe you just wanting to be seen by this other person, the parent, the family member, the sibling, the spouse. Just wanting to be acknowledged. Okay. Let me know which one of these cards is hitting you the hardest right now. Okay? That's going to show you where your real work needs to be focused. The Four of Wands in the environment, in the position of your relationships, this is closure. This is kind of saying if you want your life to improve, if you want to see something better in your life, if you want to experience anything different, anything better, you've got to be willing to kind of change. You've got to be willing to do something differently. And maybe that is like expressing yourself, having that conversation, putting your feelings out there and just saying, this is what's up. This is a card of completion. This is a card of closure. This is a card that says, if you want off this merry-go-round, if you want off this carousel of you giving, and then giving some more and not getting anything back, you kind of have to speak up. You have to assert yourself and say, hey, stop the ride. You got to reach up and pull that little string on the bus or whatever to get the train to stop, or I don't know. You got to raise your hand. You got to shout. You got to say, I want off this thing. I don't like the way this thing's moving. I don't like where this is going. Okay. This is a card of completion. This is the card of closure. It doesn't necessarily mean that this relationship is over. No, in fact, I think that this relationship is going to get stronger because there is this willingness and this ability to talk about the hard stuff, to deal with the hard feelings. And that's going to bring you closer to this person. But this is the completion of this pattern of behavior, this pattern of energy. It's the clearing away of the blockage. Okay. And, well, of course, we see a Knight of Wands in the position of the obstacle. I feel like the other person here is an Aries person, or there's something to do with Aries here. But this, in a way, this is your anxiety, because it feels like once you get started, it feels like you're not going to be able to stop. It kind of feels like once you start talking about it and you start getting upset, it feels like things are going to escalate and escalate and escalate. So you got to have the ability, the strength to kind of to regulate that a little bit. But in essence, this is what you've been holding back. Okay? There's like this impulse to say something, to do something, to change something, to get off this pattern of energy. But you've been inhibiting yourself. You've been saying, no, I got to stay in control. I can't say anything. I shouldn't. It's just going to start a fight if I do. And so you've been eating all that resentment for so long. Eventually, it's just going to boil over and you're not going to be able to control it. Okay, better to do it now where you have some say in how it goes down. Okay, but in a way, it's kind of like once you start talking, this is just like, then everything's going to come out. Like the whole last 20 years of pent-up emotional energy is just going to come spilling out of you in a way that you're not going to be able to stop it, Like once you uncork it, there's no putting it back in the bottle. That's kind of the feeling here, and that's what you're kind of hesitating to do. But I think the key here is the Knight of Cups, your superpower card. We're doing it with compassion and love. We're doing it for love and compassion. Okay? I feel like this is an emotional breakthrough. And I feel that you need to do it with kindness and empathy. But you need to be assertive as well. I feel like through this process, you're going to start a new chapter of trust and intimacy, appreciation, gratitude, love, and affection. And that is something I think that you absolutely want. Okay. Let's look at the mystery card. Harmony. 2 of Cups, Lovers, 6 of Cups. Yeah. Maybe 6 of Swords, kind of showing that the communication is actually going to go a lot better than you thought. It's going to lead to some resolution. If you have a prediction, I want you to put it in the comments. Let's see what we have. It's a 9 of Swords. It's difficult. It is a challenge. It's something that kind of feels like, you're opening up a wound. And indeed, you are. And it's going to be, this is someone who's just to tears, head in hands and tears. Is going through that process of admitting how much we're hurting right now, admitting the pain we feel. Not trying to bottle it up and just be as sort of contained and as so-called stoic as possible. Admitting that we're hurt, admitting that we feel treated unfairly, or that things haven't been happy for us, that we haven't been feeling good about the way things have been going. This is a card of kind of like admitting what you feel. This is a card of kind of emotional purging. We're kind of letting the tears out. And to me, it's saying like, this has been something that's been bothering you for a long time. You've been losing a lot of sleep over this. It's time to just let it flow. Let that water out. You can find some peace, some closure, some resolution. And start building a better relationship with this person. Okay. That 9 of Swords is the realization that I'm not happy with things. Not happy the way things are. And I don't feel like you're pretending. I feel like for a while you were kind of masking how you felt. Now there's really no masking it anymore. Now you feel how you feel and you don't feel good. But you deserve to feel good. This is the turning point. This is the kind of, the last straw. This is as low as you go, and now you start climbing up. Now we're going to do an extended reading. We'll do an I Ching hexagram. We'll do some oracle cards. There is a link in the corner, and there's a link right below the video over here. New readings for Cancer on Wednesdays and Sundays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you are the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we are all in this together.